2018, we were introduced with arguably the best mirrorless camera ever made. This is the Sony A7III. In a world where technological standards keeps on improving every day, and the next big thing is right around the corner, this camera set the gold standard of how any camera release should look like. And every major camera release from all the other manufacturers was compared to this one in one way or another. For a 4-year-old camera, this camera still has a lot of good features, and Sony have released a lot of great cameras in between, but should you even consider upgrading? Let me take you back to the future. So this camera was released in April 2018, and because of the success of the A7S II, this camera had a big shoes to fill. I bought it in June 2018 when I was in Thailand, and I remember it was the last day of my trip and I couldn't use the camera because I had to pack everything, so I was a little bit bummed out. But I found that I had a layover in Tokyo, Japan for a full 8 hours. The main reason I bought the camera because I wanted something that has really amazing low light capabilities, and comparing it to the A7S II, it set a really gold standard of how mirrorless cameras should behave in low light conditions. And the A7III really set the bar higher up because it's not just a video camera, it does really amazing pictures as well. And that made it a really perfect entry level for anyone who wanted to go into the professional world of Sony and get something really good for a budget price. When I say budget, it's not like really crazy expensive, but when you're talking about the entry level for all of the other manufacturers, the Sony price was really on par with all the competition, but also gave you a lot more features. But I'll be honest with you, I had a little bit of concern because a lot of people were comparing the color science to the Canon at the time, and to be honest with you, I didn't see a big difference. With a little bit of tinkering with Lightroom or DaVinci Resolve, all of that was pretty much in the past. But when I saw the low light capabilities of the A7III and the A7S II, it was the turning point for me because the A7III is a low light beast. So what really made it stand from the bunch? Well, the A7III has dual card slots. It can shoot in 4K non-crop. Your EVF, you can see live exposures that happens, and at that time the DSLRs were flooding the market. And also the size of the camera, it was smaller than the competition by far. And on top of that, it can shoot 120p in 1080. The E-mount was very promising, as later on Sigma jumped on the deal to release their Art Series lenses on the E-mount system. And that was a big deal because now the E-mount library grew out so much and it created a big splash in the industry. And I found the ISO usable all the way up to 10,000, but use it with caution, because when you go into that territory you might get a little bit extra noise, but that's nothing that you can improve in post. But when it comes to video, I found it very comfortable to go up to 1280, but I don't do that often because I'd rather not use a denoising in my process. I found the dynamic range very appealing when I'm using it in harsh light conditions and in low light conditions. So it was a little bit noob friendly when I first started to try, and if I got something that's overexposed, I can bring it down in Lightroom and have a really usable image. But now if you know how to use the camera and how to expose it properly, you can get a lot of dynamic range in that picture and get really beautiful images. When it comes to the side, the Sony A7III is very travel friendly and is very popular with travel vlogging because it's so small and it doesn't draw a lot of attention to itself. But the best upgrade they've done with this system was the new battery. The battery can actually last a whole day shooting pictures and half a day when I'm shooting video. So it's always a good idea to have an extra battery pack with you just in case you need it. But let's talk about the price. So as of 2021, you can actually get this camera used between $700 all the way up to $1,700, which is really good if you're looking into something that is a B camera, or even if you want it to be a main camera. My experience using the camera so far has been really good. I have a little bit of complaints here and there. Of course, the camera is not perfect, but for what I'm using it for, it's actually really good. I love taking low light pictures, and I like to take a lot of videos as well. So it kind of fits the needs that I have it for. I just wish it had a little bit extra features. Like, I wish it had a little bit of a flippy screen so I can actually see what I'm doing if I'm shooting really down and close to the ground and I'm doing some awkward angle, because the flippy screen actually is very limited, and I wish they had a different design. One thing also about it is the one side where you put in your USBs, it has like a little bit of, like, it flops around and it looks like it's made out of cheap plastic. And actually mine has a little bit crack on it because of the usage. But if you look at the other side is actually made really well with a clip, and I just wonder what happened there. Like, why didn't they make one side look exactly like the other? But you know, that's in the past. And the other thing is they included the USB-C and the micro USB. I found the micro USB very inadequate. It's almost feels like you're gonna break the connection every time you put it in. It doesn't sit flush. Mine actually doesn't work very well right now after years of using, but the USB-C has been very good and is very reliable, so I hardly ever use the micro USB anymore. A lot of complaints that I've seen so far with the microphone jack going in, it doesn't work with a lot of people, or it goes faulty. So that's something you have to, if you're buying it used, just be careful, make sure that this connection is working. Otherwise you might have to get a microphone that connects to your hot shoe mount, and you can get that done. But if you wanted to use that jack, just be careful if you're buying it used. The last thing I have is the overheating. I honestly haven't had it overheat much because of the temperature and the way I handle it. But if you're taking it on a long photo shoot and you're shooting 4K, you have to be very careful. This camera will overheat if you don't take good care of it, and if you're exposing it into direct sunlight. So just be cautious with that and know what you're getting yourself into. But thankfully Sony have addressed all of these issues with their new release for the Sony A7III and the FX3. They have put a better heat management system in those cameras, which gives you a lot more flexibility and more reliability. But should you consider getting this camera in 2021? Well, it shoots 4K no crop, 120p in 1080, has dual card slot, and amazing dynamic range. If you like this video, please leave it a like and a comment. It'll help the channel grow and help with the algorithm. But if you're interested in the 55mm Zeiss, I have made a video about it over here. And until then, just take it one day at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.